Hello everyone, welcome to another exciting tech tutorial where we build a complete Twitter UI clone from scratch using React, Next.js, Tailwind CSS, and TypeScript. Now this is simply going to be a UI tutorial where we're going to recreate the UI of Twitter. Now if you like to create the full stack build where we're going to be creating tweets, comments, and also liking tweets, then ensure you subscribe so you'll be notified when I drop the full stack build. Now for this particular video, we're going to recreate this UI right here. First of all, we're going to create this sign in page right here. You can see this button right here, sign in with Google, this input, and also these other two buttons, continue and forgot password. And after a user signs in, the user is going to be visited by the home page, and in the home page, we're going to see this feed right here. And you're going to notice that the left sidebar is always going to be fixed at the left hand side, then this right sidebar is going to be fixed at the right hand side, and we can actually scroll through tweets, actually view tweets in this application. Then in the home page, user can actually type in this input. I can right here, I can say build and deploy. Then I can select an emoji. I'll search for a rocket emoji, rocket. Then I see that rocket emoji. I'll click on this rocket emoji. I just click as many emoji as I want. Now close up the emoji picker. Then I can select a photo. I'll select a photo. I'll just select this right here. I'm going to open that up, and you're going to notice that the user can actually preview the image you're trying to actually upload. When a user wants to actually post something in the application, they can actually preview what they are trying to post, and you can actually click on this X to actually close up the image. Okay, now when we click on that X, it's going to actually delete the image you are trying to select, which means our image state is being set back to null. Then I'll get rid of this. Now, not just that, we're also going to have the post view page. When user clicks on a post, it's going to take them to the post view page, and in the post view page, you can see we have this content right here. It's going to show individual posts, and also we're going to have this image where you can actually type on to actually reply a tweet, and also you can actually select emojis when you want to reply a tweet too. Not just that, we're also going to create this comment UI. You can see right now that users can actually leave comments in this application. And we're not going to stop there. We're going to ensure that this application is actually fully responsive. I want to take this to small screen device. You're going to notice that this is actually fully responsive. You're going to notice that the application is going to respond to the screen. It's going to look really good for small screen devices. Now, if you are excited about this project, smash on the like button and leave a comment below. 1 like equals to 1 prayer for the YouTube algorithm to push this content to more people just like you who are going to find this content helpful, and basically just consider it as a very little way of you supporting this channel. And lastly, if you've not subscribed, ensure you do that and turn on the notification bell firstly so that you don't miss the full stack build. When I drop the full stack build, you get notified, and also you get notified when we release new projects on this channel. Let's dive into it. So we're going to be starting this project from absolute scratch. So right now, the only thing I have in my Visual Studio Code is this empty folder right here. Okay, so first of all, let's actually set up Next.js. So I'm going to head over to nextjs.org. I'm going to click on Get Started. And it's going to bring me right here to the documentation. I'm going to go to Installation. And you can see right there the system requirement for you to actually install Node.js. And before you begin, you have to have Node.js version 18.18 and above in your machine. And also you need to be on a Mac OS, Windows, or Linux operating system. Then I'll just scroll down, copy this command right here. Then I'll go to my Visual Studio Code. I'll just open up my terminal. I'll paste the command here, and then I'm going to see /. I'm basically telling the command to actually create this project inside this folder. Don't create a new folder, create a project inside this folder we have right here, inside our empty folder. So I want to click on enter. It's going to say need to install following package, create next app at 15.4.6. I want to click on Y and I'll click on enter. Then it's going to ask us if we want to use TypeScript in this project. Yes, we want to use TypeScript in this project. Would you like to use ESLint? I'll say yes, I want to use ESLint. Tailwind CSS, yes. Would you like your code inside the SRC directory? Yes. Then would you like to use app router? Yes. Would you like TurboBack? Yes. Then no. And now it's going to actually start installing all the dependencies we need. Now after it's done installing, you're going to have these files right here. Okay, then I'm just going to run npm run dev to actually run this server. So npm run dev to spin up a local development server. Then I'll just follow this localhost 3000 right to actually open up our project in a web browser. And that's actually going to open up this project in a web browser. Okay, Now this folder we just created, and this is actually going to be our starter files. Okay, so I'm going to close up this terminal. I'll close this up. Then I'm going to go to my SRC folder. I'm going to get rid of some of the code we are not going to need for this project. So first of all, I'll go to the page.css file. I'll just get rid of everything here. I'll get rid of everything. I'm just going to return a h1 tag. It's going to say hello. I'll save that. Then I'll also go to my globals.css file. I'll get rid of everything here, excluding this import Tailwind CSS, because this actually was linking Tailwind CSS to our project. So we're actually going to need this import Tailwind CSS right here. Then I'll head to my layers.css file, and this layers.css file is basically the layers of this file right here. Okay, so even later on in the video, I'm going to teach you how to actually create your own layout file. For the title, I'm going to change it to the title of the page. It's going to be Twitter clone. Then for the description, I'll say Twitter clone by Egbon Tech. I'll save that. I'm going to head back to the web page. You can see that those files are actually gone. Now I have this text right here, hello, and then our title of the web page up here we have Twitter clone. Cool. So first of all, we're going to set up our custom color that we're going to use in this project. So to do that in Tailwind version 4, it's very simple. So we're going to go to our globals.css file. Down here, we're going to say add theme. Now in between this opening and closing squiggly bracket, we're just going to paste in the colors we want to use right here. Okay, then I'm going to save that. Then with that, we can actually start working on this project. So I'll close up this layout file. I'll head to my page.css. I'll get rid of this import image from next image. I'll also get rid of this h1 tag. Then I'm going to create a div. This div, we're going to give this div a class of h screen, which is basically a height of 100 vh. I'll give it a display of flex, items of center. Then we'll do justify content of center. Inside this div, we're going to create another div. Add a Tailwind utility class of bg background, a maximum width of 300 pixels. Give it a width of 95%, a padding of 12, and a rounded of LG. Okay, I'll save that. Now head back to the web page, and we have that box right here, but the background is white, so I'm going to change the background to white. So to do that, I'm going to go to the layout file. Go to layout file. I'm just going to add a Tailwind utility class to this. I'll give this bg of background. I'll save that. Yeah, we now have a background of black, which means we don't really need the background of black we gave to this right here. We don't need this background of black anymore. I just get rid of this. So what we are trying to create right now is this form input right here. This is what we're actually designing right now. Okay, so inside this, we're going to create a h2 tag. This h2 tag is simply going to say send into x. I'll give this a Tailwind utility class of font bold. I want the text to be bold. Text of 3XL, then a text of primary text. And you can see that when we are making use of our custom color, well, right now this primary text is one of our custom colors. Okay, you can see it right here, primary text. But when we are making use of these colors, we don't have to call the color. Okay, we don't have to call this color, just call primary text, secondary, background, just like that. I'll save that. I'll head back to the web page, and you can see that text right here, sign into X. Cool. Now after this h2 tag, we're going to create a button. And this is going to be the button to actually send in with the Google. For first of all, we're going to have an image in here. It's going to be the Google image. I'll just import this image tag from next image. Close this up. Then the SRC is going to be, it's going to go into our images folder. Because inside our public folder right here, we have a folder called images, which has all the images we are going to use for this project. Now, these images are going to be available. I'm going to leave a link to them in the description if you actually want access to this image and you want to actually code along. Okay, this image tag is going to point to Google icon.png. Sorry, PNG, not ONG. The alt is going to be Google icon. I give it a width because we have to give it a width and height property so Next.js image component doesn't scream at us. A width and height because it wants to know the width and height of the image. I'll save that. I head back to the web page and we can see that icon right here, that logo right here. Okay, so let's add some Tailwind classes to this. I'm going to give this a width of 6, height of 6. Object, I'm going to give it cover, object of cover. Okay, and that's actually going to ensure that this icon is actually styled. Cool. So next we're going to add a text close to the icon. After the icon, there's the image. We're going to add a span. The span is simply just going to say send in with Google. So let's quickly add some styles to the button. I'm going to give this button a Tailwind utility class of bg width, a width of full as width of 100%, margin top of 8, height of thin, a display of flex, justify, I'll give it center, items, I'm going to give it center, a gap of 2, a cursor of pointer, and on hover I want it to have a background of bg gray 200. I'm going to save that, check out the output, and you can see that this actually styled. So I'm just going to give it a rounded because I want it to be circular. Okay, so I'm going to give it a rounded. I'll give it a rounded of full. That's going to ensure it's going to be circular at the edges. Cool. So then it's going to create this line right here. It's going to say this or is going to divide the auth login from the credentials login. This line right here. Okay, let's do that. So after this button, I'm going to create a div. I give this div a display of flex, items, I give it center, then margin vertical, I'm going to give it 6. Inside this div, I'm going to create another div. We'll give this one a Tailwind utility class of flex grow. Now we are basically giving this div a flex grow of 1, okay, a height of 1 pixels, and a background of border. Okay, now this background of border is coming from one of our custom colors called color border. Okay, remember we only need the name, we don't need the color before the name. Okay, we need border, we need the name border. Okay, so the background of this div is going to be bg border. Cool. So I'm just going to create 2 of this. I just drag this down, and in between these 2 I'm going to create a span. I'm going to give this span a class name of mx4, text of md, and a text of primary text. Then inside this span, I'm just going to say or. I'll save that. And when I save that and head back to the web page, you can see we have that divider right here. Or cool. So now it's going to create the input. So let's do that. Now after this div, we're going to create an input. It's going to be of type text. I'm going to have a placeholder of phone, email, or username. Then we're going to add some Tailwind classes to this. First of all, we're going to give this a width of full, a bg of background, outline, we're going to give it none, a rounded of md, a padding of 4, we give the placeholder a text of secondary text, is one of our custom colors. I'll give it a border of border, which is basically one of our custom colors too. I'm going to save that, head back to the web. You can see that we have the input right here. Okay, and we cannot actually see the text when we type on this input. So what we are going to do, we just give the input a text of white. Okay, and that's going to ensure that the text we type inside this input is actually white. After this input, we're going to create the submit button. It's going to be a button that's going to have a text in there of continue. Then I'm going to add some Tailwind classes to this. I give it a text of white, a width of full, a margin top of 8, rounded of full, height of thin, display of flex, items of center, justify, center, gap of 2, cursor of pointer. On hover, I want this button to have a BG gray of 200 and a font of semi bold. I'll save that and check out the output, and we have that button right here, but it doesn't have the white background. Let's fix that. So I'm going to give it a BG of white. Now since we are giving it a background of white, we're going to change this text of white to text of black. I'll save that. Then after that, I want to create this forgot button right here. So what we are going to do is just copy the same button. We're just going to drag this down. Then we're going to remove this BG of white. We'll get rid of this BG of white. And also this text of black. This text of black is going to be a text of white. Then we'll just add a border. And the border color is going to be border of our border color. Okay. Save that. Yeah. And we can see that right here. And we have to give this a, when we hover, we have to give it a text of black. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to say on hover, when someone hovers on this, I'm going to give it a text of black. And obviously the name of the button is going to be forgot password. So I'll say forgot password. I'll save that. So finally, we just create this right here. Don't have an account, sign up. Let's quickly do that. So to do that, I'm just going to create a div after this button. I'll give this div a Tailwind utility class of test, secondary, test, and the margin top of 8th. Then inside this div, we're going to create a span. This one is going to have a margin right of 1. Then here we're going to have don't have an account. So I'll say don't. Now I'm going to use a HTML entity. So I'll say ampersand APOS have an account. After this span tag, I'm going to add a link. So I just import that from next link. The href of this link is not going to point anywhere because we are basically just creating the UI. So I'll use hash. And the title is going to be sign up. Then I'm going to add a Tailwind utility class of text primary. I'll save that. And we can see that item right here. Don't have an account. Sign up. Cool. So then we've created the sign-in page. Let's check if it is responsive. Yeah, it's actually fully responsive. Okay. So next, we are going to start creating the home page. Now, before we do that, we have to actually create a layout file for this home page right here. Now, when we click on this post right here, you can see that we have a post view page that's going to show the individual post. Okay. Now, when we click on this post view, you're going to notice that the left sidebar and the right sidebar are still there. Okay. So we're going to create a layout file in such a way that the left sidebar and the right sidebar are always going to be visible. They're always going to be right there. Okay. Now, we'll go back and say right now that they are still there. They're going to be there for the home page and also for the post view page, but for the authentication page, that's the login page, we're not going to have this left sidebar and this right sidebar. Okay, so which means we are not going to make use of this general layout file. We're going to create our own layout file. So let's do that. So first of all, I'm going to create a folder. I'll just close this up. Create a folder inside my app folder. I'll call this folder home, and inside this home folder, I'm going to create a file. I'll call this file page.tsx rfc. I'm going to change this P letter to capital. Okay, because when we use rfc snippet to create this, it's going to be lowercase. And in Next.js, when you are creating a page, the page has to export a component, and the component has to start with, all components have to start with uppercase. Okay, cool. So in here, I'm just going to return a h1 tag that's going to say hello. This is the home page. I'll give this a Tailwind class of text white, so we can actually see it in our dark background. Then I'm going to go to the home page of our project. I'll go back to my project. Then I'll just say slash. Now say home. I just go to slash home. And these are easy it is to actually create pages in Next.js. Unlike React, where we have to make use of React router, we just use file-based routing in Next.js. Cool. So what we want to do is actually create a layout. Okay. Now to create a layout, remember that in our app folder, the root folder of our app folder, we have a layout file here. We can actually use this layout, and the properties or whatever elements we add to this layout is going to trickle down to this whatever pages we have inside this home folder, because this is in a higher order. Okay, but the problem is that we don't want the layouts to actually have any effect on this sign up page. Okay, we don't want any of those sidebars in this sign up page, so we're going to create a new layout inside this home folder. So I'll create a new layout, say layout.tsx RFC. I'll just change this to capital letters L. Cool. Then in here, we're just going to output the children right here. Okay, the children, and we obviously have to tell TypeScript the kind of data type this is. So let's do that. If you are using JavaScript, you don't have to do this, but I'm actually using TypeScript, which means I have to actually specify the type this is going to be. So right here, I'm going to say children. It's going to be read only children React node. Okay, just format this, and that's going to actually get rid of that TypeScript error. Cool. Now we have this layout file. Now whatever page we create, like this home page right now, whatever content this home page has is going to be displayed right here where we are calling these children. Okay, so right here I'm going to say this. I just add a h1 text. I'll say this is the layout for the home page. Just add some styles to this. I'll give this a class of text width. I'll save that. I want to head back to the web page. You can notice right now we have that right here. This is the layout for the home page. Now this text right there is going to be displayed in every page we created inside this home directory. Okay, cool. And that's how easy to actually create layouts in Next.js. So I'm going to get rid of this. I get rid of this. I don't need this h1 tag right here. Don't need this. Instead, I'm going to create a div. This div is going to have a class name of margin right of 2. For medium screens and above, it's going to have a margin right of 10. Now when I hover on this, you can see right now that for screen size that 760 pixels and above, it's going to have a margin right of 40 pixels. Okay, so that's what this is going to do. For XL screens, I'm going to have a margin right of 110. For large screens, I'm going to give it a margin left of 100. We'll do a manage left of 12 for small screen devices. I give it a min height screen, which is minimum height of 100 VH, min height screen. I'm going to give it a border, then a border color of border. Okay, and this border is one of our custom colors we created initially in our globals.css. This border color right here. Cool. And lastly, give it a margin bottom of 20. I'll save that. I want to head back to the web page. You can see that container we just started right here. You can see the edges right here. So now that we have this right now, we can now fix our left sidebar at the left hand side and fix our right sidebar at the right hand side. Okay, cool. So let's do that. So I'm going to create a new file. First of all, just get rid of this text right here. Just get rid of this text. For now, I just want this to return an empty div. Okay, I'm going to work on this home page later because this is actually going to be the home page. I'm going to create a new folder inside my SRC folder. I'll call this folder components. And the first component we're going to create is going to be our left side bar.tsx RFC. So inside this left side bar, first off, I want to create an aside. Just create an aside. I'll give this some Tailwind utility class. I'll give it a position of fixed, a left of 0, a top of 0, a width of 50 pixels. Now this is going to be the width for mobile devices. And for last screen and above, we're going to give it a width of 400 because I want to add a padding of padding 1. For last screen, I'm going to give it a padding of padding 4. I give it H screen, it's a view height of 100 VH. Then for last screen, I'm going to give it a padding left of 30. Cool. So I want to add a background to it so they can actually see the BG of red 700. I'll save that. And when we go back to the web page, we cannot actually see that left side, but I think that's because we've not actually imported that component in our layout file. So let's quickly do that. So I just go to that layout file. Now up here, remember that this div right here is for this div at the center, okay, which means our sidebar has to be outside that div. So up here, we're going to add our left sidebar. Just call that left sidebar right here, left sidebar. I'll save that, and that's going to ensure that we can actually see that left sidebar right here. Cool. But the left sidebar is not going to have a background of red. I just wanted to use it to demonstrate so you can see where it actually occupies. So I'll just get rid of that background of red. I'll save that. And yeah, the left sidebar is actually there. So inside this left sidebar, first of all, we're going to add a paragraph tag. We'll give this paragraph tag a Tailwind utility class of margin bottom of 6 and a text of width. Then here we're going to actually add an icon, and we've not actually installed any icon library, so let's do that. So I just open up this terminal. I want to create a new terminal. Then down here I'm going to say npm install React icons, and that's actually going to import React icons in our project. Okay, so I just close this up. Now if you actually want to see that, I'll just go to our package.json. You can see all the dependencies we are working with: Nest, React DOM, and we just added React icons. Cool. So I'll close this up. So in here, I'm just going to call an icon. The icon is going to be far x Twitter. I'll save that. Now we should be able to see that icon right here. All right. So I'll just increase the size. I'll give it a size, give the icon a size of 30. Let's check that out. Yeah, this is actually better. Looks better this way. So next, I'm going to create these links right here. Okay, I'm going to create these links. Let's do that. So I'm going to create a div. After this paragraph tag, I'll create a div. I'll give this div a Tailwind utility class of space y of 2. After that, I'm going to create a link. I'll just import this link from Nest link. Then the link is not going to go anywhere, so I'll just pass in hash in there. I'll give it a Tailwind utility class of text of width, a display of flex, items of center. For last screen, I'm going to give it a gap of 3, a padding of 3, a rounded of full, and on hover, I want this link to have a background of BG hover. And this BG hover, I'm getting that BG hover from this color right here, this custom color we created. Then inside the link, I'm going to have an icon. This first one, I'm going to have an icon. The icon is going to be go, home, fill. We're going to give it a size of 32. Then I want to create a span. This span is simply going to say home. By default, this is going to have a Tailwind utility class that's going to be hidden for small screen devices. For large screen device, it's going to have a display of inline, a text of XL, and for this particular one, this particular link, we're going to give it a font of bold. I'll save that. Check out the output, and we can see we have that link right here. I want to hover on it, see how cool that's looking. All right. So what we are going to do is that I'm just going to create these other links, and I'm just going to return to actually save time. I've actually added them. The second one is going to be explore. You can see the icon we're using, iOS search outline. Then the next one is going to be the notification link. You can see the icon we're using, build bell. The next one is going to be messages. I can see the icon, be envelope. Then communities, BS people, premium, FX Twitter, far X Twitter, then profile, far red user, then more. You can see the icon here, td.circle horizontal. Cool. So I'm just going to save this. I'll head back to the web, and don't forget to actually import these icons. Okay, so after actually writing this icon, you have to actually import these icons from React icons. I'll go back to the web page, go back to our project, and you can see we have those links right here. Cool. So there's going to create that post button that's going to be underneath here. Let's do that. So after this, I'm going to create a button. This button is simply going to say post. I'll give it a Tailwind utility class of hidden. We don't want this to be visible for small screen device. For large screen device, we're going to give it a display of block because we only want it to be visible for large screen devices. Okay, I'll give it a BG of white, a text of black, a padding of 3, a width of full, margin top of 3, a font of bold, rounded of full, and cursor of pointer. Okay, I'll save that. I want to head back to the web page. We can actually see that post button right here. But I won't take this to small screen device. You're going to see that we can actually see that post button. Cool. And you can see right now that only the icons are going to be visible. Remember that we gave this, in this div, we gave these past span tags a display of hidden for small screen device. So these span tags are not going to be visible for small screen devices. Okay. And also you can see right now that post button is not visible. But we have to actually create another button for the small screen devices. So let's do that. So I'll go back to my Visual Studio. After this button, I'll create another button. This button is going to have an icon in it called feather from React icons. I'll give it a size of 20. Then I'm going to add some Tailwind utility classes to this. First of all, I'm going to give it a BG of primary, padding of 3, margin top of 3, rounded of full, cursor of pointer, text of white, and LG of block. Okay, and LG for large screen device, we want this one to be hidden. I'll save that. Head back to the web page. You can see that for large screen device, you cannot actually see the second button, but when we go to small screen device, you can actually see that feather icon and that button right here. Cool, just like you see on the original X website. So finally, you are going to create this right here, this profile right here. Let's actually do that. So we're going to create a div for that. After this button, I'll create another div. This div is going to have a class name, Tailwind utility class of margin top of thin, text of white, display of flex, justify of between, and items of center. Inside this div, I'm going to create another div. It's going to have a display of flex, items of center, and a gap of 2. Inside this, I'm going to add an image tag. I just import that image from next image. The SRC is going to point to images / profile .jpg. Then the alt text is going to be profile pic, and the width and height of this image, the original width and height, just give it 500. Then height, I'll give it 500. Okay. So that Next.js doesn't scream at all. So I'm going to add a Tailwind utility class. I'll give it a width of 10, a height of 10. Object, I'm going to use cover, which is object fit of cover. Then rounded of full. I'll save that. Let me actually check out this one. And we can see that image right here. Cool. After the image, I want to create a div. This div is going to have 2 paragraph tags in there. The first one is going to say Egbon Tech. Then the second paragraph tag is simply going to say at Egbon Tech. I want to add some Tailwind classes to this one. I'll give it a font of semi-bold. I also add for this one too. Give this one a text of secondary text. That's the text color of secondary text. This color right here, secondary text. And also I give it a font of light. And finally, I only want this to be shown for last screen device. So I give it a display of hidden. Then for last screen, I'm going to give it a display of block. So I'll spell that block correctly. Block. I'll save that. Head back to the web page. And we can actually see those items right here. Not Egbon tag for that at Egbon Thick. Cool. And we can actually see, so next we're going to add that 3-dot icon that's going to be right here. So after this div that contains this image and the paragraph tag, I'm going to add an icon. Name of the icon is going to be let's share dot horizontal. It's going to be hidden by default, so I'll give it a Tailwind class of hidden. Then for last screen device, I'm going to give it a display of block. I'll save that. Head back to the web page. You can see that right here. And with that, we are done with the left sidebar. And when we go to small screen device, you can see it's actually fully responsive. Okay, that's how easy it is to create a responsive layout with Tailwind CSS. So next, we're going to start creating this right hand side. Okay, this right sidebar. So let's do that. So I'm going to create another component. Inside my components folder, I'll create a component called Rightsidebar.tsx RFC. Then I'll just get rid of this div. Then inside here, I'm going to create another aside tag. I'll give this one a class name, a Tailwind utility class of fixed. Right, we're going to give it 0. Top, we're going to give it 0. A width of 450 pixels, a padding of 5, a height of 8 screen, which is basically 100 VH. Padding right, I'll give it 20. Then for small screens, it's going to be hidden. Then for extra large screen, it's going to have a display of block. Okay, I want to give this a BG of red so you can actually see it. Head back to the web page, and we cannot see that. That's because we've not imported that component into our layout. So down here, after this div, underneath here, I just call the right sidebar. And this children we are outputting is going to be in between this div right here, okay? But the left sidebar and the right sidebar, it doesn't matter how you position or place them, they are already fixed, okay? The left sidebar is fixed to the left hand side, the right sidebar is fixed to the right hand side. I'll just format the document. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we can see that right sidebar right here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of that background color. Don't need the background color, just added it so we can actually see it. Inside this aside, I'm going to create a div. I'll give this div a Tailwind utility class of text, white, flex, items, center. Give it a gap of 2, border, then a border color of border, add a padding of 2 and a rounded of full. And this is what we're actually trying to create right here. This right here, this input right here. Okay, now inside this, first of all, I'm going to add an icon. It will be IO search outline. Then underneath that, I'm going to add an input. It's going to be of type test. It's going to have a placeholder. I'm simply going to say search. Okay, I'm going to add some Tailwind utility classes to this outline. I'll give it none, and a width of full. I'll save that. Head back to the web page, and we actually have that input right here. You can actually tap on this input. Cool. So after this div, we're going to create another div. That's still going to have a Tailwind utility class. First of all, we're going to add the border. Then the border color is going to be border. Give this a padding of 4, a text of white, margin top of 5, and rounded of LG. Now inside this div, I'm going to create a h3 tag. I'm going to have this in there. Subscribe to premium. I'm going to add some Tailwind classes to this. I give this a font of bold, a text of 2XL, and a margin bottom of 4. After the h3 tag, I'm going to have a paragraph tag. I'm going to have this text in it. Subscribe to unlock new features. And after that, I'm going to create a button. I'm simply going to say subscribe. We add some Tailwind utility class. First of all, I'll give it a margin top of 4, BG of primary, a text of white, a padding vertical of 2, and a padding horizontal of 5, a font of semi-bold cursor, I'm going to give it pointer, and finally a rounded or full. I'll save that. Let's check out the output, and we have that div right here. We have that container right here. Cool. Subscribe to premium, this text and this subscribe button right here. Next, we're going to create this other one. Okay, so let's do that. So I'm going to create another div. After this div, I'll just wrap up this div. After this, I'll create another div. Give this div a Tailwind utility class of border. Then the border color is going to be of the border color, one of our custom color, obviously. Give it the padding of 4, a text of white, margin top of 5, and rounded of LG. Okay. Inside this div, we're going to have a HTTP tag that's going to say who to follow. Then after the HTTP tag, we're going to create a div. This is going to have a display of flex, a justify of between, items, center, margin bottom of 6. Then after this div, I'm going to create another div. This div is going to have a class name of flex and a gap of 2, and also items of center. Then inside this div, I'm going to add the first image. So it's going to be the first one, because we're actually recreating this right here. So this is going to be the first one. Add an image, just import that image from next image. The src is going to go into images folder, and it's going to point to image 1.jpg. Then the up test is going to be profile pic. Then you have to specify the width and height so that Next.js does not scream. So I'll say width 800, then height I'm going to say 800. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we have that image right here, but the image is extremely large, so we have to add some Tailwind classes to this. I'm going to give the image a width of 10, height of 10, object of cover, rounded of full. That's way better. But we've not actually styled this h3 tag. Let's quickly do that. First of all, I'm going to give the h3 tag a margin bottom of 4, a text of 2XL, and a font of bold. And that's actually way better. Cool. So I'm going to add the 2 texts for this image. Okay. So after this image, I'm going to create a div. So I have 2 paragraph tags in there. First paragraph tag is going to have this in there, Zara Anaya Patel. Second paragraph tag, simply going to say at Zara. Then I'm going to give the div a class name of text white. Then I'll give this particular one a Tailwind class of text secondary text and a font of light. I want the font to be lighter. Save that, head back to the web page, and we can actually see those items right here. Cool. So after this div right here that contains the image and these 2 paragraphs, we're going to create a button. I'm simply going to say follow. Add some Tailwind utility classes to this. I'll give it a bg of white, a text of black, a padding vertical of 2, padding horizontal of 5, font of semi-bold, cursor of pointer, and a rounded of full. I'll save that. Check out the output, and we see that button right here. Follow. Cool. So I want to create more of these, so I just wrap up this div right here. I think it's specifically this div right here. I just grab this up. Now I'll create more of these links. Just drag this down 1, 2. Okay. Then I'm going to update them. And this second one is going to be image 2. Then the name, so Zaya Anaya Patel, is going to be Henry Dixon. Then it's going to be at Henry for the handle. And the next one is going to be, I'll get rid of this name, it's going to be Olivia Scott. Then the image is going to be image 3. Then it's going to be Ath Olivia. I'll save that. and we have those items right here. Cool. So now we are done with the sidebar. So let's start working on this main content right here, the home page. And for the home page, we're going to have this right here. We're going to have this input right here that we're going to use to actually create posts. We'll start working on the back end, but we're not working on the back end in this particular project. And also, we're going to have this right here, this post right here that we're going to add code. So let's start working on that. So I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio. I'll go to the home page. Now, inside this home folder, this page.css file, this is my home, is going to be acting as my home page. So I'm going to click on that. Cool. So right here, create a div. This div is going to have a class name of border, and the border color is going to be border. I give it a height of 14 and display of grid, a grid cause of 2, which basically grid template columns of 2, repeat 2 min max 01 fr in CSS, and then we'll do a text of width. And inside this div, we're going to have a button. This first one is going to say for you. We're going to add some Tailwind classes to this. I give it a cursor of pointer, a font of semi-bold, and on hover, I give it a BG of hover. Now just copy this and drag this down. Then instead of for you, I'm going to say following. I'll save that. Head back to the web page. I just go back to our project. You can see we have just added those buttons right here, for you and following. Cool. So then we're going to create this input right here that users will be able to use to create posts. Now, this input now, we are going to be writing lots of logic when we start actually creating posts, because obviously I'm going to create a full stack build for this, where we're going to actually create posts and a backend. Now, in that full stack build, we're going to be creating lots of logic to actually send posts to the database. Okay. So we have to actually create a component for this. Okay. So let's do that. So I'm going to create a new component. I'll call this component create post.tsx. RFC. Get rid of this text right here. We're going to give this div a display of flex. I'll give it a Tailwind utility class of flex. Gap, we're going to give it 4, a padding of 4, add a border, then the border color is going to be border. Then you're going to have an image. So I just call the image tag from Next.js. I'll import that from Next.js. The image is going to point to the images folder, and it's going to point to profile.jpg. Then the auth is simply going to be profile pic. Then I'll give it a width of 500 and height of 500. Then I'm going to add some Tailwind utility class to this. Give it a width of 10, a height of 10, object, we're going to use cover, a rounded of full, and then a shrink of 0. Okay, so that the image doesn't shrink. Okay, because of the input. So we're going to add an input at the side of this image. So after that, I'm going to create another div. I give this div a Tailwind utility class of width full. Then I'm going to add a text area. This text area is going to have a placeholder of what's happening. I'm going to add some classes to this. I'll give it a width of full, a text of white, a placeholder text of test, secondary text, outline, none, text of XL, resize of none, and I think that's about it. So I'm going to save this. I head back to the web page, and we cannot actually see the input. Why can we not? Okay, we've not actually imported that create post component into our home page. So let's go to our home page and actually import that component in. So down here, I'm going to say import create post. I'll just import that in, save that, head back to the web page, and we have that component right here. I can actually type on that component, but I cannot actually see what I'm typing. I still have that outline. What's happening? So I'll go back to the create post components, outline of none. I didn't add the none. Outline, I'll say none. Yeah. Then also a text of white. I'm going to give it a text of white so we can actually see the text we are typing in this text area. Yeah. So next we are going to create these right here, these icons right here, and this button right here. So let's do that. So after this div, I'm going to create another div. I give this div a Tailwind utility class of flex. Justify, I'm going to give it between. Justify between. Padding vertical of 4. Items of center. A border of top, and a border color of border. Okay. Inside this, I'm going to create a div, and that div, I'm also going to give this div a display of flex. So I'll give it a Tailwind utility class of flex and a gap of 3. Then I'm going to create a div that's going to hold each of the icon. It's going to have a class of text primary and a cursor of pointer. In this particular one, the icon is going to be CB photo. I'll give it a size of 20. I'm going to save that, head back to the web page, and we have that icon positioned here, not underneath this. What's actually happening? Okay, gap. Okay, I think it's supposed to be inside this div, not on outside of that div. It's supposed to be inside the div that houses the text area. So I'll just paste that in here. Okay, I'll save that. Yeah, it's going to be inside the div that houses this text area, the container that wraps around this text area. Cool. I'm just going to copy this and drag this down multiple times. I'm going to actually add 3 more icons. This one is going to be far, reg, face, smile. This one is going to be IO, location, outline. This one is going to be ROI, calendar, schedule, line. I'll save that. Head back to the web page, and we're going to have those icons right here. Okay, cool. Then next we just create the post button. After the div that wraps around this icon, we're going to create a post button, Let's call this post. I give it a Tailwind utility class of text of black, BG of white, padding vertical of 2, padding horizontal, I'm going to give it 5, a font of semi-bold, cursor, I'll give it pointer, and a rounded of full. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we can see that post button right here. Cool. And next, we want a situation when we type on this, okay, when there's a value in this input, that's only when we want the user to be able to actually click on this post button right here. Now, if you check out the finish page, you're going to notice that when we tap on this, you're going to notice that the color of the button is going to change, which means the button is actually active now. You can actually click on the button to actually create a post, okay? So let's actually do that. So I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio Code. First of all, I'm going to create a state up here. First of all, make this component a client component. So I'll say use clients. Then I'm going to create a state const post set post is equals to use state from React. And by default, it's going to be an empty string. Then we're going to connect this post state to our test area. Okay, so right here we're going to say this is going to have a value. Our test area is going to have a value. There's going to be the post states, and on change for our text area, on change, we want to fire an arrow function that's going to take an event. Then we want to set our post, so the event.target.value. And that's going to ensure that whenever I will tap on this input right here, it's going to set whatever I will tap on this input to that state. Okay, so if you type THA, our post is going to be set to THA. Okay, next we're going to create a variable to actually determine if the input is actually empty. So now I am saying const. I'll call this is disabled. It's going to be equals to post.theme. Okay, which means when the post is empty, this is going to actually return true, but when the post is not empty, it's going to return false. Now we don't want the users to be able to click on the post when the user has not tapped. Okay, so what we are going to do now, we're going to render two buttons. The first button we can actually use to actually send a post to the backend, while the other button is not going to have any function hooked up to it. Scroll down, then I'll just cut off this button. Now I want to say disabled. Sorry, is disabled. And if that's true, then I want to render this button, but this one is not going to be BG white. It's going to be BG secondary text. Then if the button is not disabled, then we're going to display this. Okay, now this one right here, this one we're going to hook up our function to actually send a post. Okay, so when the user did not tap on the input, the user is also going to see this button that's actually dormant. Okay, we're going to save that. Now you're going to notice that the button is actually inactive when we tap, not when we don't tap. What's happening? Why is that? Okay, that's because we said disable equals to post.trim. We're going to check if the post.trim is equals to an empty string. Okay, if the post.trim is equals to an empty string, the button is going to be disabled. I'll just go back here. The button is button, but when we tap on it, you can see that we can actually see the button is now active. Cool. And what we are going to work on is I want to click on this photo icon. I want to be able to upload a photo. Okay, when I click on that, you can see that we have a photo right here. Cool. Then we can also cancel and also delete the photo. Let's actually work on that. So down here, I'm going to create an input. Down here, just create an input. Input that's going to be of type phi. Get rid of this. I'll save that. I'll head back to the web page, and the input is actually there. For some reason, we cannot actually see it. I won't click on it. You can see we actually have an input here. I don't know why we cannot actually see the input. But it doesn't really matter because we are not going to be clicking on the input. We are going to be clicking on this to actually upload a file. So we have to reference this icon to this file input we just added. So to do that in React, we have to make use of the useRef hook. So up here, I'm going to create a ref. Up here, I'm going to say const file ref is equals to use ref. By default, the ref is going to be null, and the type is going to be HTML input element, or is going to be of type null. Then we're just going to import the useRef hook from React. Cool. So down here we have to actually connect that ref to this input. So we're going to say the ref is equals to the file ref we just created. Okay. And also want to actually hide this. So say give this a class name of hidden with Tailwind, which is basically just giving it a display of none. Now next, what we want to do is I want to click on this photo icon. I want it to actually activate and actually open the file. Okay, so basically what we want to do is I want to click on this file icon. It's going to reference to that file input we just created. Okay, so what we're going to do is I'm going to add an onClick event to this. So I'm going to say onClick. I also want an arrow function that's going to say file ref dot the current dot click. Okay, we won't click on it. It's actually going to reference to that input. So when I click on it, it's going to reference to that input right there. I can actually select a file. Okay. Cool. So now that we can click on that photo, I can actually select a photo. So what we want to do is I want to be able to preview the image. Okay, I want to be able to preview the image in the web page so that a user can see the images selected from their devices. So what we are going to do is we're going to actually design that. Okay, so after my test area, I want to create a div. I'll give this div a Tailwind utility class of height 60. For medium screens and above, I'll give it a height of 100, a rounded of LG overflow of feeding. I give it a border, and I give it a border color of border. Then I give it a margin bottom of thin and a position of relative. Then inside this div, I'm going to add an image. Just import that image from next image. I think we've already imported next image in. Yeah, we already have next image here. Then the SRC is going to be, I just point to any image. I just use this images slash profile dot jpg. Then width, I'll give it 500. Height, I'll give it 500. Then for the Tailwind utility classes, height of full, width of full, object of cover. I also have to specify auth there. So I'll say auth, there's going to be, I'll just say preview image. I'll save that, and we should be able to see that image right here. Okay, cool. So next we're going to add that cancel button that's going to be at the top right corner. So let's do that. Inside this, I'm going to create a button. Give this button a Tailwind utility class of absolute. I'll spell that absolute correctly. Top of 5, right of 5, BG gray of 600, width of thin, height of thin. Sorry, not width of 0, width of thin, height of thin, a text of 2XL, rounded of full. I'll give it an opacity 50. I'm going to use opacity 50, and a cursor of pointer. Okay, now inside this button, I'm going to actually add an icon. This icon is going to be RX cross 2. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we can see that button right here. Okay, but we're just going to position the icon at the center of the button. Let's do that. So to do that, I'm just going to give the button a display of grid. I'll give it a grid display, then place items, and we'll use place items center. I'll save that. Yeah, it's actually at the center now. Now we don't want this to be shown here by default. We only want this to be shown when the user actually uploads an image. So what we are going to do, we're going to create a state. So up here, create a state. I'll call this state const image preview. Then set image preview is equals to use state. Okay, and by default this is going to be null, because initially if we don't have an image uploaded, the state is going to be null. But when we have an image uploaded, it's going to be a string. So we're going to say this is going to be of type string, or it's going to be of type null. Now I'm just going to scroll down, and I'm going to say if the image preview is actually set, that's only when I want to display this container. So I'll just wrap this container that has this image in there. I'll say image preview ampersand. That's only when I want this to be rendered to the UI format the document. I'll save that. I won't go back to the web page. We can no longer see that. That's only going to be visible when we actually upload a photo, and it's not visible. That's because we've not handled the image upload. When we select an image, we've not actually handled it. Let's quickly do that. So we're going to create a function to actually handle when we select an image. So up here, I'm going to say const handle file change. It's equals to an arrow function. And this is going to take an event that's going to be of type react.change event. It's going to be HTML input elements. Then in here, we can simply get our file. Say const file is equals to events.targets.files. I just want the first one, okay? Because when we select an image, the image is going to come in as an array of objects. Okay, since we are selecting one image, we're going to have just one object in there. So we want to specify that we just want the first one, which is going to be at index 0. And we have to add optional chaining to this because the files could be possibly empty. Then I want to check if we have a file. If this file variable is set, then I want to set the image preview to url.create object URL. Then I'll just pass in the file in there. Okay, and this is actually going to create a temporary URL you can use to actually view the image and preview the image. Okay, and we are setting that our image preview states to that temporary URL we're actually creating for the image. Then finally, we are going to hook up this function we created to handle a file change. When you select a file, we're going to hook up that function to our file input. Okay, so down here I'm going to say on change, run a function called handle file change. So I'll save that. I'm going to head back to the web page. I'll just refresh the web page first of all. Then I'll just select a file. I'm going to select this file, open, and you can see now we have an image right here. Cool. I'll select another file. I'll select this one, open, and you can see we have another image being previewed in our browser. Now what we want to do next is that I won't click on this X right here. I want to actually delete the image. Okay, so let's do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create a function for that. So up here, I'll create another function. I'll call this function remove image is equals to an arrow function. Now whenever this function is called, it's simply just going to set our image preview back to null. Okay, then it's going to set our file. First of all, check if firef.current, then it's going to be firef.current.value. I'll set it to an empty string. Then we have to hook up this function to that X button. So I just scroll down. Then where's that button? This button right here. Then I want to say on click. I just want to run this function right here. I'll save that. Now head back to the web page. Now we can actually click this to actually remove the image. We can select another image again. Then we can actually click on this to remove the image. Cool. So when we are trying to create a post, we did this validation that we can only see the post button when we type on this. Okay, but we also want to see the post button when we upload a file, because sometimes the user may just want to just post an image. Okay, so when the user uploads an image, we also want the user to be able to post just the image without typing here. Okay, so what we are going to do, we're just going to go back to that variable created. This variable created is disabled. Then we're going to say and if not image preview. Okay, cool. So when I head back to the web page, when I select an image, you can see right now that the post button is, when I type right here, you can see the post button is active. And when I select an image, you can see the post button is also active. Cool. So finally, we are going to work on actually selecting icons. Okay, when we click on this emoji icon, I want to be able to select icons. Okay, that's something like we can say fire. Then we'll just search for fire in our emoji. Then we'll just click on that. You can see that right here, fire. So let's actually work on that. So I'll just get rid of that. Go back to my project. Then to do that, we have to actually install a library called emoji picker. So I'll just open up this terminal. And down here I'll say npm install emoji picker for React. Enter, and that's going to actually install emoji picker for us. I'll just close this back up. Then I'll go to my package.json, and I can actually see that dependency right here, emoji picker React version 4.13.2. Cool. Close this up. Then I can actually make use of emoji in our application. So I'm just going to scroll down. After this post button right here, I'm going to actually create a div. And this div is going to have a Tailwind utility class of fixed, z of 10, top of 50, left of 1/2, left of half, width of 90%, a maximum width of 2xl, and a negative translate x of 1/2. Then inside this, I'm going to call my emoji container, emoji picker container, emoji picker from React. I just import that from React up here. You can see I'm actually importing this emoji picker from emoji picker React. Okay, I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we can see that emoji picker right here. Okay, you can actually see the emoji picker right here. So let's quickly add some styles to this. So I'm going to go back to this emoji picker. First of all, I want the theme to be black, so I'll say theme is equals to theme. I just import that theme in from emoji picker, then dot dark. That's going to ensure that this is going to be actually in dark mode. Cool. Then we're going to add some styles to it. So I'm going to give it some styles. Say style. I'll give it a width of 100%, and then I'm going to give it a background of black. And finally, we only want to see this emoji picker when we click on that icon. Okay, so we're going to create a state up here. I'm going to call this state const show picker, then set show picker is equals to use states, and by default this is going to be false. Then we can use this show picker state to conditionally render that emoji picker. Okay, then we'll just cut this up for now. Then we're going to say if show picker is set to true, then only then do we want to render this JXS right here, which means only when we try to select an emoji icon, that's only when this is going to be rendered true. So we're going to hook up a function to this smiley icon right here. We're going to say on click. I want to run an arrow function. I'm going to set show picker to the opposite value, show picker, basically just toggling the state from true to false and false to true. I'll save that. Now when I head back to the web page, I'll just refresh the web page first of all, so that all those styles are actually applied. Then when I click on this, you're going to see it's going to actually open up this emoji icon. When I click on it again, it's going to close it back up. It's only going to be rendered when the show picker state is set to true. Cool. And finally, when we actually click on an emoji, we want the emoji to actually be selected in our text area. So let's do that. So up here, we're going to create a function const on emoji click is equals to an arrow function. Now this function is going to take an emoji data, which is going to be of type emoji click data, and I'll just import that from emoji picker React. I'm importing that type from emoji picker React. Okay, then in here we can get access to our post state. So I say I want to set my post state. Remember that our post state was actually being rendered inside this text area. Okay, so I'm going to get the previous value. I'll call it previous. Then I'm going to say the previous value. Then I want to concatenate it with the emoji data.emoji. Now we have to actually hook up this function to our emoji picker. So I'll just scroll down. Then inside this emoji picker, and I can say on emoji click, we want to run this function on emoji click. Cool. I'll save that. Then when I go back to the web page, when I select an emoji, you can see the emoji is actually it's not selected. So I'll just refresh the web page. It's actually working, but I'll just refresh the web page. Click on this. When I select an emoji, watermelon, it gets selected. You can see the emojis are actually there. Okay, so we can see right here. You can see deploy. Then we can just search for a rocket icon. Look at the rocket icon. Click on rocket icon. You can see right here deploy. Cool. Get rid of that. Now with that, we're actually done with this create post component. So next, we're going to start creating the post. Okay, this post right here and this image is right here. Let's actually do that. So I'm going to create another component. I'll call this component post.tsx rfc post. I'll get rid of this. Now inside this post component, I'm going to create a div that's going to represent each of the posts. I'll give you some Tailwind utility classes. So I'm going to have a px of 4, padding horizontal of 4, padding vertical of 2, a display of flex, a gap of 3, a border of bottom, and a border color of border. Then I'm going to add an image. I just import this from next image, and the image is going to point to images/image 1.jpg. Then the alt text is simply going to be profile pic. I'm going to give it a width of 100 and height of 100. I'll just save that, head back to the web page, go back to our project, and we cannot see it. That's because we've not actually imported that component to our home page. So let's go to our page.css file in our home page. Then we just have to import that right here. So down here I want to say post. Save that, and we should be able to see that right here. Okay, let's quickly add some Tailwind classes to this image. Go back to the post component. Go back to that post component. I want to add some. Let me just format this. Add some Tailwind classes to this. I give it a width of 10, a height of 10. Object, I'm going to use cover, rounded of full, and a shrink of 0. I don't want the image to shrink. I'll give it a shrink of 0. And after this image, we're going to create a div. This div is going to have a Tailwind utility class of with full. And inside this div, I'll create another div. This one is going to be flex. It's going to have a justify of between. Give it a gap of 1 and a text of xm. After that, I'm going to create another div in here. This div is also going to have a Tailwind class of flex. It's going to have a gap of 1, items, center, items. I'm going to place it at the center, then text of xm. And inside this div, we're going to have 3 spans. The first one is going to have this right here, Zara Anaya Patel. The second span is simply going to say Zara. Then for the last span, we're going to have 4 hours. I'll give this one a Tailwind utility class of text, width, font of bold, a text of secondary text. I also give this one a text of secondary text. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we can see those items we just added. Now we're going to add that icon that's going to be at the edge right here. Let's quickly do that. So after this div right here, I'm going to add an icon. It's going to be BS3 thoughts. I'll just give it a Tailwind class of text secondary text. Save that, and we should be able to see that icon right here. Okay, cool. Now we can add the post text and also the post image. Let's do that. After this div, I'm going to create a link, or the post text is going to be a link you can actually click to actually view the post. It's going to have a href. Now for now, it's not going to go anywhere, but it's actually going to go to the post view page. Okay, but for now, just leave it as hash. I'll import this from next link, and I'll give this a Tailwind utility class of text, white, margin vertical of 2, and a display of block. So I just give it block. Then as for the post text, I'll just paste this right there. Okay, then after this link, we're going to have another link. This one also for now is going to just be, the href is going to be hash. Then this one is going to be an image actually. So I just add an image in there. Image tag. SRC. That's going to go to the images folder. Then it's going to point to post 1.jpg. And the alt text is going to be post image. Give it a width of 1800, height of 1800. Then I'm going to add some Tailwind utility classes. I give it a height of 70, For medium screens and above, I'm going to give it a height of 130, a width of full, a rounded of LG, border, I'll give it a border color of border. Then objects, I'm going to use cover. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we should be able to see the image and the post we just added. Cool. And you can see that border around the image we just added right here. So finally, we're going to create these reactions right here. Okay, let's actually do that. So after this link, I'm going to create a div. This div is going to have a Tailwind utility class of flex, justify, between, and margin vertical of 4. Then I'm going to create a div. This div is going to have a Tailwind class of text, secondary, text, display of flex, items of center, gap of 1, then on hover, I want this to have a text blue of 400, and also I'm going to give it a cursor of pointer. Then inside this div, we're going to have an icon in here. The icon is going to be far, reg, commit. Then after that, we're going to have a span. I'm going to have a Tailwind utility class of text sm, and simply just going to say 1.5k commits. I'll save that, head back to the web page, and we should be able to see that right here. When we hover on it, you can see that blue color on it. Cool. So let's just create the rest. So I'm just going to copy this div and drag this down 1, 2, 3. That's 4 times. We actually need 4. And the next one is going to be fi repeats. Fi repeats. I just add 7.5k here. Next one is going to be far edge. Hats. Add maybe this one 2.5k. And for the last one, we're going to have think stats. Yeah. Then this one, just make this one 5k. I basically just had coding values here actually. So just make it on 5k. And you can see we have them right here: total comments, total retweets, total likes, and total views, I think. So now I'm going to add this one right here, this bookmark icon. So just go back to my Visual Studio Code. I'll just copy this and drag this down. And for this one, we don't need a span, so I'll just get rid of the span. Then the icon is going to be far reg bookmark. Far reg bookmark. Then I'll give it a size of 20. Save that. And you can see we have that icon right here. Cool. So now we're just going to create more of these posts. So I'll just go back there. I'll wrap this up. I'm going to wrap this up. I'll just drag this down multiple times. 1, 2. I'll save that. Head back to the web page, and we actually have more of this right here. Cool. And with that, we have successfully created this home page. We can actually type on these inputs. We can actually select an image. We can select an image. The image gets shown to the user. The user can see the image they are trying to upload. The user can click on an emoji, select an emoji, can say fire. Then I can search for a fire emoji. Click on fire. You can see right now the emoji gets added. Cool. And close back the emoji and just get rid of this. And we are done with the home page. So next, we're going to start creating the post view page. When we click on a post, it's going to show the post view page. Okay, so let's actually work on that. So I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to create a new page. Just close this up. So first of all, I'll create a new folder. I'll call this folder post. Inside this folder, I'm going to create another folder. And this folder is going to be post ID. And the reason I created this like this using these square brackets, because this is going to be dynamic wrapped. Okay, each post is going to have a unique ID that we're going to use to pull the post from the database. Okay, so when the user creates a tweet, the tweet is going to have a unique ID, and that's the unique ID that's going to be displayed in the URL that we're going to use to actually pull in the post when we start working on the back end. All right, so inside this folder, I'm going to create a page. Call this page.csx. RFC. Just change this to capital case. Then I'll just give this a Tailwind utility class of text white. Text white. Let's actually visit this page. And to visit this page, remember that we have a folder home/post/the ID. Okay, so let's actually visit the page. So it's going to be the home, then we're going to say /post, then /. Now this is a dynamic route, which means you can type anything right here. Okay, so I'll just click on enter, and you can see right now we have that page we just created right here, that page text right here. Okay, page. So we are at the post page. Okay, and we can actually use another URL. Can use something random, and you can see that we are still at the post page because this is a dynamic route. Now when we start working on the back end, we're going to actually use the unique post ID as a URL. Then we're going to get that post ID with Next.js. Then we're going to use that post ID to actually get the post we're trying to view. Okay, cool. So I want to get rid of this text. Get rid of this. I'll create a div. Inside this div, I want to create another div that's going to have a Tailwind utility class of flex, justify, between, items, center, margin bottom of 3, px of 4, and padding vertical of 2. After that, I'm going to create another div. This is going to have a Tailwind utility class of text of white, display of flex, items of center, and gap of 3. I'll save that. Now what we are trying to create is this right here, this header right here. Okay, they're going to have this icon, this post right here, also this reply button. Now this post right here is going to be using a function in Next.js called website.back. Okay, so what this does is that it's going to go to the previous page we were in before we actually clicked on this post. So previously we were at the home page, so when we click on it, it's going to go back to the home page. So I'm going to actually teach you how to do that. For now, I'm going to create a button. This button is going to have an icon. It's called far arrow left. Add a Tailwind class of cursor pointer, and I'll give this a size of 20. After this button, I'm going to have a span tag. I'm simply going to say post. I'll give this span tag a Tailwind utility class of font bold, text XL. And after this div, I'm going to create another button. After the div that holds this button and this span, create another button. This one is going to be reply. I'm going to give it some Tailwind classes. I give it a border. Then the border's color is going to be border. Rounded. I'm going to give it full. px of 4, py of 1, and a cursor of pointer. I'll save that. Head back to the web page. I'll just go back to my project, and we can see that button right here, but we cannot actually see the reply text. So I'll just give it a text of white. So I'll give this a text of white to ensure that text inside the button is actually white and we can actually see it. Cool. I want to click on this button right here. I actually want to go back to the home page. Okay, so I want to use something in Next.js called website.back. Okay, so that's what we want to do. But what I'm going to do, I want to create a component for this button, because if I decide to make use of that website.back in this page, it's going to make the entire page a client page. Okay, and I don't want that. I don't want this entire page to be a client page. So what we are going to do, we're going to create a component for this. So I just go back to my Visual Studio Code. I want to create a component. I call this component go back button .tsx RFC, and this component is simply just going to return this button right here. It's going to return just this button. So I just paste that button as a return JSX right here. Now import this icon, format the document, save that. Then in here, I just have to import that component go back button. I'm just going to import that component. Then we can get rid of this icon right here. Save that. I want to head back to the web page. Nothing's really going to change. Okay, So now I want to add the function to the button. So I'll go back to my Visual Studio Code. First of all, I'm going to get router from Next Navigation. I'm going to say const router is equals to use router. I'm going to get that from Next Navigation. Then on click of this button, when someone clicks on this button, on click, I want to fire an arrow function. I'm simply going to say router dot back. I'll save that. When I head back to the web page, we're obviously going to get an error because we've not specified that this is going to be a client component. We're using router in here, so I'm going to say use clients. I'll save that, and that should actually get rid of that error for us. Yeah. So now when we click on this, it's going to go back to the home page. Okay. Now when I try to click on any of these links, it's not going to really do anything. Remember, we've not actually updated these links to actually take us to the post page. Let's do that. So I'm going to go back to my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to go to my components. I'll go to post component. Then right here, where we have this hash for the first post, I'm just going to say this is going to go to this /home. Remember that inside our home, we have this inside our home folder / we have it in the post folder. Then we're going to pass in the dynamic URL. And this is just for testing. Then /home /post, sorry, spell that post correctly, /125. Okay, I'll save that. Now when I head back to the web page, I'll just click on this right here. You're going to say /123, and also when I click on the image, it's going to be /125. Cool. And when you click on this, it's going to go back. That's what the router.back function that we added is actually going to do. So next, we're going to create this right here for the post view page. Now you notice that this right here is actually similar to the individual post. Okay, so you're just going to reuse that. So I go to my post component. I'll just copy one of these. I'll copy this first one. I just copy this. Then I'll just go to my post page. Then I'll just paste that. After this div right here, I'll just paste that right here. I just import these icons. I import this in. I import this in. I import this in. I import this in. Then also I import this in. And we don't need the icon here. We just need a div. So I just change this link to div. Change this to a div. Then I get rid of the href in there. I import this from next image. Then also I get rid of this link. I place it to the div. Get rid of this href. And for this one, just import this icon from React icons. Cool. I'll save that. Head back to the web page, head back to our project, and we should be able to see that right here. Okay, cool. So next we're going to add this reply input right here that users will be able to reply to it. Okay, so it's basically the same thing with this one right here. It's basically the same thing with this component right here, but we're just going to change a little details. So I'm just going to go back to that. I'll create another component. I'll call this one reply post.tsx. It's going to be similar with this. So I just copy everything from here. We're also going to need the emoji picker. Then I'll paste that in this reply post component. Okay, but we have to change a few details so this actually matches with this component. So instead of post, I'll just call this reply. So we're going to be replying to it. Set reply. Sorry. Instead of post here, it's going to be the reply states. Then scroll down, update the rest. Instead of set post, it's going to be set reply. Then down here, instead of post taking, it's simply going to be the value is going to be the reply state. Then we're going to set the reply to event.target.value. Yeah, I think that's about it. Cool. I'll save that. Now we have to actually import that component to our post page. So I'll just wrap this up. I'll wrap up this div. Then down here, I'll just call that reply post component we just created. and we are not actually exporting the component. Remember that we didn't change the name of the component to it's the create post, so we're going to change this. We're going to change this to reply post. That's why we could not import it, because it's not exporting the reply post, it's exporting the create post. So here we can say reply, and we're actually getting that right here. Click on that. Format the document. I'll save that and I'll head back to the web page, and we're gonna have that reply right here. We can actually type on it. Cool. We can select an emoji. We want to reply, so we can select an emoji, and what we are going to do, we have to position this emoji picker. You can see when we click on this emoji picker, it's going to cover up that smile icon, and we're going to click to close it back up. So we're going to position this differently. Okay, so I'll go back to that reply post. Now, instead of we positioning this, we are positioning this. We're giving it a position of top 50. I'm going to give it a top of 10 instead. I'll save that. Yeah, you're going to see that we can actually click on this to open and close it. Cool. So next, what we're going to work on in this post view page is going to be the comments. Okay, we're going to actually see the list of comments right here. So let's actually work on that. So I head back to my Visual Studio Code. I'm going to create a new component. I'll call this component comments.csx. RSC. I'll get rid of this. I'm going to notice that this structure right here is actually similar to this right here, okay, without the image. So we can actually reuse this post.jsx. Okay, so let's do that. So I'll just go to my post page. I'll copy this right here. I'll copy this. Then I'll just paste that in here. Okay. Then I'll just get the import statement. So it's that post page. I'll get the imports. Then I'll paste that up here. Also, we have to actually import next image. Now save that. When I head back to the web page, we should be able to see we cannot see that. I think that's because we've not actually imported that comment component. So let's actually go and do that. So I go to my page.css. So I'm just going to import that comments. Okay, I'll save that, and we should be able to see that comments component right here. Cool. So all we have to do is just get rid of the image. So I'll just get rid of the image. I'll get rid of this image. Okay, I'll save that. I'll head back to the web page. You can see that we have the comments right here. So basically we actually want to, so we're just going to copy this, just close this up, then I'll just drag this down, then I'll format the document. I'll save that, head back to the web page. I'm going to notice that we actually have 2 of this comment right here. Cool. And we can type on this, and you can see that everything is actually working fine. And I'll check if this is responsive, and it's actually fully responsive. Okay, this is actually fully responsive. And with that, I'm basically done creating the UI of this application, because this current video right now is just for those who actually want to learn how to build a responsive UI like Twitter, or how to build a responsive UI with React and Tailwind CSS. Okay, now if you want to take it a step further, you want to build a complete application where we're going to create to it comment functionality, and also we are going to be able to like post and many other functionalities, even authentication, then do where to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss out on the full stack build or basically any projects we're going to work on next on this channel. I'll see you in the next video.